Peter Moylan strikes him out on a pitch upstairs.
Down he goes. Well, that's impressive.
He is overmatching everybody. Peter Moylan, 6 great outs.
Strike him out looking.
Here with the Hall of Famer, Baseball WA Hall of Fame, and new inductee Peter Moylan. And Peter, congratulations from everyone over here in the West. What does it mean to you to now see yourself in the Hall of Fame of WA baseball?
Oh, it's incredible, mate. Honestly, when I got the call from Lockie, it was it forced me to look back a little bit too. So it really forced me to look back at my junior years in WA and who helped me through those times, and it's been a fun couple of weeks remembering all those things and remembering what it was to be a West Australian baseballer, and now to be enshrined, I guess you'd call it, in with some of the greatest names to play baseball from our country. It's incredible.
And take me back. You talked about Perth. Take me back to the first time Peter Moylan walks on a field, or the first time you fall in love with the game here in Perth. Like what are your earliest memories here?
I remember playing T-ball at Willetton. My dad was the coach. I remember enjoying the game. I don't remember the exact time when I fell in love with it. I do remember distinctly looking forward to trainings and looking forward to games, which was something that I didn't do with anything school. I didn't like school, but baseball was the one thing that kind of grabbed me from an early age. We didn't start playing baseball until we were sort of 11 or 12 years old back then. It was T-ball right the way up until under 13s.
Yeah.
So to even get a chance to sign it when I did the first time was kind of really, really cool, because especially with how short a period of time that we'd actually play baseball from. But those early memories were just some of the greatest times on the baseball field. The WA Academy was at Parry Field before it was knocked down. So even doing the car parking for the under 18s and seeing the current Perth Heat players roll in their cars and flick you $2 or $1 and just have a quick conversation with you. That was priceless for me. And I don't think there's any other states that do that. So those sorts of experiences that young age formed the baseball player and the person that I am right now.
Talk about those car park conversations with some of the Heat guys. Is there anything you sort of remember, or was there anything you took away from be it the Simon Isons, Greg Jelks, whoever it may well be that you were talking to? Was there ever a little tidbit that someone gave you that you thought, yeah, that's something that's all right?
So not in those conversations, but we did have the benefit of being able to play games against the Perth Heat when I was in the academy. And I remember learning a very good lesson once from Jason Hewitt, who I was a second baseman, middle infielder, and he lied to me. He flat out lied to me. He told me as soon as the pitcher releases the baseball on a hit and run, I'm supposed to run to second base and cover the base, which all that does is completely open up the right side and allow the hitter to hit the ball through freely. So that was a lesson that I learned from someone taking it out of me a little bit on the baseball field. But again, those sorts of experiences, playing against those guys at a young age, playing against those guys in state league, playing against Perth Heat guys who I saw as my heroes, and then having just general conversations with them was huge, and something that when I first got to the major leagues was not something that was readily available.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's go from Parry Field to Turner Field for your first ever appearance back on the 12th of April, 2006. Take me, I mean, when you're in the pen, you're warming up, you know you're about to come in the game. You know the second you step foot on that grass, you're becoming a big leaguer.
You don't, though. Until when they say,
when you're running it, let's take it to the point that you've got the ball in your hand. I mean,
right.
I mean, are you just so much in the zone, or was there a time that you sort of think about, boy, I've come a long way, and this is 10,000 miles from home, and here I am under bright lights.
No time to think at all. Yeah. There was no time to think. The worst part of the whole first game experience was that you have absolutely no idea what to do. the minor leagues is one thing. The big leagues is completely different. You show up the bullpen. You never know when you're going to pitch. You've got to be available from the first inning to the ninth inning. Every time the phone rings, you think it's going to be you. So every time that phone rings, it's a whole level of adrenaline that pumps through you like I'd never felt before. And it happened 2 or 3 times throughout the game because I didn't come in until I think the 6th or 7th inning. But there was a few phone calls between that, getting guys ready, and it just made me absolutely lose my mind. But the experience of running in for the first time was something that it's embedded in my head. I had the brim of my cap at a certain level so that I couldn't see the third deck of the stadium because there was just so many people and so many seats. I didn't care if it was full or empty. That amount of seats was just scary on itself. And then I ended up facing Ryan Howard, who was the eventual MVP, as my first ever hitter. So that was just mind-blowing. Struck someone out to end the inning, walking off. I'm still pushing off my glasses. I'm still wearing a Tower glove from Fielder's Choice.
Yeah.
So it was just, everything was just, it was just unbelievable. And something that I never, ever thought that I'd experience. Obviously the story, you know the story, but through everything, to be 27 years old and finally getting that chance, who a lot of people believed I should have had a chance earlier, obviously, but I squandered it all myself.
And talk about that. I mean, becoming a Hall of Fame. I mean, I think everyone who's made the Hall of Fame has to navigate adversity at some point in their career. I mean, yeah, what was for you? I mean, what was the obviously the World Baseball Classic launched you into your career again, and how did you continue sort of to motivate yourself to get better and continue chasing that dream?
So I'd love to sit here and say, well, I was just motivated from the time I got released to get back there, but that wasn't the case. I just still loved playing the game of baseball and still stayed involved, coaching, playing just State League and Claxton Shield and ABL, whatever it ended up being on a certain year, and just stayed invested in the game. So I just happened to be coaching a team and develop some arm strength one off season, and my life completely changed. It's as simple as that. I had had back surgeries between that, where I'd had to come back from back surgeries. I'd stopped pitching for a while because of that. I turned myself into a first baseman because I still wanted to be around the game and keep playing. So just so many things that just had to fall into place for me to even get a second chance to even make the Australian team. I was off the Australian team radar at that point. I was just playing club ball. So, John Deeble just happened to be down at a game watching me pitch and had a radar gun. We didn't have radar guns at club ball. Yeah. It's not usually worth it. So just that in itself was just nuts.
And that makes your story so incredible to kind of to do what you achieve from those bases. But like tonight in the room, there's a lot of young coaches as well, and guys coaching the next sort of generation of Peter Moylans. And like if you were to take your experience now and to talk to people who are potentially mentoring the next generation in WA, I mean, what are a couple of bits of advice that you would say to coaches to help pitchers predominantly go through to the next levels?
Look, there's no formula to it. Especially over here in this country, that there seems to be a lot of emphasis on a travel ball baseball and playing outside of clubs and all the rest of it. But I just remember club baseball in South Perth being some of my favorite times. And I just hope that it continues to still stay the way that it was back then. I would encourage coaches to not make guys specialize. That's one thing. There's a lot of conversations around that at the moment about having kids do one thing, play one position from the age of 8 years old and continue to do that. I would have guys play not only multiple positions, but multiple sports. I was into everything. I did athletics. I did football. I played every sport I could get my hands on, tennis, swimming, you name it. I was into it. And I think that kind of coordination developed from other sports and everything else that you get yourself into will eventually allow you to exceed at whatever sport you decide you want to play. I had to make a choice at 15 between Aussie rules football and baseball. And it was pretty simple when I saw the likes of Ben Cousins play football on the same team as me. I realized I was never going to be an AFL footballer. So I decided to go play baseball instead. But yeah, just don't be too hard on these guys. I was an absolute maniac child. I'm sure there's people in that room that remember me as a kid and are probably sitting there thinking, wow, we're so glad he turned out to be at least a decent human being. Because I was a tough kid, and I was a typical young, energetic 15-year-old, and the likes of Rod Drew and Don Kyle were able to mold me and focus me on something. Then that was baseball, and I was in my element when I was on the baseball field.
And you talk about all those guys, and we talk about baseball being a game of moments. Now as you know, you're inducted into the Hall of Fame. What do you feel like? What's the moment for you? Is there one moment that within your career you kind of look back to and go, man, that was cool. That was cool. That was the moment that if I was to send someone a clip of my career, this is what I'd want them to see.
So there's not one, but I break my career up into three separate categories, basically. I have the initial call up in 2006, which will change my life, obviously. Those feelings, those emotions, that feeling of feeling that I've done it. I've proved myself right. I've proved a lot of people right who had faith in me back in the day that I thought I'd squandered, obviously. That was the initial feeling of that first one. But then I had to deal with a ton of injuries. I dealt with injuries from basically 2011 to 2015, and had to fight my way back to the big leagues a couple of times during that time. And then eventually getting a phone call in 15 from Brian Snitker, the current manager of the Atlanta Braves, calling me up after signing a deal as a player coach, having to claim workers' compensation for a year, getting to the field at 6 a.m. and coaching 17-year-old Latin kids and American kids and kids from all over the world, then having to get my rehab stuff in, fighting my way all the way back, leading the Gulf Coast League in appearances because they didn't know whether my arm was going to be able to hold up. They didn't want to send me anywhere else but the Florida League. I was 2 days away from going to a team to be a pitching coach, and I ended up going back to AAA in 2015. So just so many second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances that I was able to get just from being able to stick to it. It's just been an incredible run. It really has.
That's amazing. And talk about chances. I mean, go back to South Perth. I mean, who do you talked about Don Kyle and Drewy and these kind of guys there. I mean, do you remember the guys that gave you the sort of the first sort of big chances in state league that you kind of when you were younger?
Look, it was Kevin Driscoll. It was Mark and Adrian Vaseko. It was Scott and Jason Hewitt. It was the Barnes brothers. That was my family back then. That's how it felt. Those guys, and still now, I still go and have lunches with these guys and talk to these guys on a regular basis. And that's the thing that I loved about South Perth as a club, is that it felt like a family. It was my family. It still feels like my family, and that's the reason why we were so close back then and continue to be so close now.
And we talked about moments earlier as well. We can't sort of get away without going. The standard question of in your career, guy, you faced the best of the best. I mean, was there one guy in particular you like striking out more than anyone else?
There's one guy that I really did like striking out, and that was Dan Ugluck, who I eventually ended up playing with. But there's he ended up hitting a home run off me in the very last at bat he had against me before he got traded over to the Braves. So technically he has bragging rights on me. The toughest guy that I ever had to face, and here's a cool story, but it ends up me being on the wrong end of the cool story. But on opening day, ESPN, opening day, opening night, it's always Sunday Night Baseball. It's a big thing. There's only one game on opening night, and it's normally everyone in the baseball fraternity is watching. It's 2008. I've come off a pretty decent year. It's Nationals Park's first ever game. And it's a massive moment. It's the 10th inning, and Ryan Zimmerman's up to plate. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get myself out of this. I'm going to be a hero. We're going to end up winning this game. I throw a pitch to Ryan Zimmerman, 2-0 count. He ends up pulling the trigger. hits a missile out to left center field for a walk-off home run. He's their golden boy. He's their golden child. The fireworks are going off. There's pictures of me. That video is shown every single opening day for the Nationals. Every single time Ryan Zimmerman's name is mentioned, I'm the guy throwing the pitch of him hitting the home run. So there's another story that was pretty cool. And I had a really tough time getting that guy out after that moment for a long, long time.
And with your broadcast duties now, have you been back to the Nationals for the opening day there to see that video again on the big screen?
I've never had to go back on opening day, but I did actually was wondering, I did go back and call a game last year, and I was kind of hoping that they'd put a tribute video up for me so that I could make them stand up and wave from the press box and make sure that they recognize that I was coming back. But they have a lot of fun with it. They send me a tweet every single year to make sure that I remember the date.
Well, that's nice. We were talking a little off air before, and I think what's really cool now is from off you've transitioned into the booth and doing a lot of work as well. That must be cool as well. Again, you sort of talk about we talked about it earlier. It's an Australian guy doing a lot of stuff in the media over there. I mean that that must be one of the most fun jobs in the world.
I never ever thought in a million years that so I grew up with a stutter. I had a stutter all through high school. I never had confidence talking in front of people. I never had confidence in myself, really. And when I retired in 2018, Fox Sports called me basically straight away and said, "Hey, would you be interested in trying media?" And I really didn't think that I was going to enjoy it, but I have absolutely loved it. It's taken me, I've been in the booth calling Major League Baseball games for the Atlanta Braves, who are obviously a really good team. I've done radio. I'm now doing pre and post. I'm doing a couple of podcasts. I'm now doing stuff with John Boy Media. It's expanded into something that I never ever could have dreamed of. And it basically was me having the confidence to say yes to a couple of things and giving something a go that I wasn't 100% confident in the first place. It's again, how many years am I removed from my baseball career? I retired in 2018, call it 5 years. 5 years removed from that. And there was a little bit of a fear. I wasn't the guy that made enough money to be able to sit back and go play golf every day. I knew that I was going to have to make a living, and I didn't know what I was going to be able to do. So to be able to jump in and do this and do something that I still really, really love and really, really enjoy. I obviously love the game more than anything. Probably not my family, but I do love this game a lot.
So, well, we could talk all night, Pete, but we'll let you go. But
real quick.
But before, as we let you do that, room full of fellow, plenty of guys from South Perth and other clubs, plenty of Hall of Famers in the room tonight. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people you'd like to single out and thank along the journey. And as you're inducted, and we induct you as a Hall of Fame member, the floor is yours.
I really appreciate that. I really, first of all, just want to thank Baseball WA for the honor. I couldn't in a million years have dreamt that this was ever going to be a thing as a young kid, as we've obviously discussed a lot. A couple of people I'd really like to thank. I mentioned them earlier. Don Kyle was instrumental in my baseball career as a teenager. Rod Drew as a young juniors coach. Every one of my coaches throughout those juniors and South Perth times, you guys have had an impact on my career that I can't thank you enough for. All the players that I was able to play with. You've been a piece of me. I've been a cubby for a long time, and I still feel like I'm a big part of South Perth Baseball Club, and it's a big part of me. My parents, my dad, who's not doing too great at the moment, but he's going to get a chance to see this at some point. So I want to thank him for everything that he did for me. My mum, especially. Mum and I did it pretty tough. I remember mum working 2 jobs. She'd be at the bank during the day, and she'd be stacking shelves at night. And she was also a massive part of the South Perth Baseball Club as well. So shout out to Mum, Dale. My family. I got to give a quick shout out to my ex-wife who made this all possible. Tracy made this possible. We were together when this all started, and she allowed me to go chase my dreams. And she raised my 2 older, beautiful girls, Montana and Matisse. My wife, Mandy, now, who's been through the struggles of this whole thing, through good and bad. We've been together for a long time. My daughter, Leilani, who's now 10, she's the apple of my eye. But everybody that's had something to do with my baseball career, you all have had something to do with it, honestly. And again, thank you very much. I can't thank everybody enough. This is a huge, huge honor.